Have you ever truly listened to a clock, not just glanced at it for the time, but really listened to that steady rhythmic? It's a sound so common, so woven into the fabric of our lives, that we barely notice it anymore. But in that simple sound, there's a story of human ingenuity, of our endless quest to understand and measure the one thing we can never get back: time. This is the story of the clockmaker's dream. A dream that began not with gears and springs, but with a simple, profound question. How do we capture the invisible river of time? For millennia we looked to the heavens. The sun's majestic arc across the sky gave us the sundial, its shadow a silent finger tracing the hours. The moon's gentle phases marked the passing of months. The stars themselves were a grand, celestial clockwork, guiding farmers and sailors. We used water drip by drip in clever contraptions called water clocks or We watched sand fall through an hourglass, a poetic symbol of moments slipping away. These methods were beautiful, but they were imperfect. Sundials slept under cloudy skies. Water clocks froze in winter, and what a hassle to refill. They were all continuous, flowing measures of time. But our world, our lives, they're made of moments, seconds, minutes, hours. We needed a way to chop time into equal, bite-sized pieces. We needed a beat, we needed a tick. And so the dream shifted. The quest became mechanical. The great challenge was to create something that could move in a regular, controlled, and repeatable way. The answer, when it came, was a stroke of genius. It was an invention so crucial it would change the world forever. Imagine a wheel, powered by a weight that wants to spin wildly out of control. The escapement is like a little gatekeeper. It has two arms, called palettes, that rock back and forth. First, one pallet catches a tooth on the wheel, stopping it. Tick. Then, as it swings away, it releases the wheel, which turns just a tiny bit before the other pallet swings in and catches the next tooth. This rhythmic dance, this controlled release of energy, is the very heart of every mechanical clock. It's what creates that iconic sound. Sometime in the late 13th century, in monasteries across Europe, this dream became a reality. Monks, who needed a precise way to schedule their 7 daily prayers, were likely the first to build these new mechanical clocks. They weren't your friendly neighborhood mantelpiece clocks. They were colossal iron monsters, behemoths of gears and levers, housed in the bell towers of cathedrals and town halls. They often had no face, no hands. Their job wasn't to be seen, but to be heard. They struck bells to call the faithful to prayer and the townsfolk to their daily tasks, imposing a new, mechanical rhythm on society. These early clocks, known as turret clocks, were marvels of medieval engineering, but they were also terribly inaccurate. They might lose or gain 15 minutes, even half an hour, in a single day. The craftsmen who built them weren't even called clockmakers yet. They were locksmiths, blacksmiths, artisans of iron, who wrestled the stubborn metal into the intricate shapes of gears and pinions. Each clock was a unique, handmade masterpiece, a testament to the maker's skill and patience. They were figuring it out as they went, learning the secrets of metal and motion. The real revolution. The moment the clock began to shrink from a tower to a tabletop, came with a new way to regulate that tick. For the first few centuries, the escapement was controlled by a simple horizontal bar with weights on it, called a foliot. You could adjust the speed by moving the weights, but it was a clumsy and imprecise system. Then, in the mid-17th century, two of the greatest scientific minds of the age, Galileo Galilei and Christian Huygens, turned their attention to the problem. Galileo famously had observed a swinging chandelier in a cathedral and noticed that each swing, big or small, seemed to take the same amount of time. He realized the pendulum was the key to precise timekeeping. While Galileo conceived of the idea, it was the Dutch scientist Christian Huygens who, in 1656, successfully applied the pendulum to a clock. This was the game. The pendulum clock was astoundingly accurate, losing perhaps only a minute a day, and later mere seconds. This incredible leap in precision transformed everything. The clock face, once an afterthought, became essential. The minute hand, previously a rarity, became standard. Suddenly, you could schedule a meeting not just for the afternoon but for 2:15. Time was no longer a vague flow. It was a grid of precise, measurable units. This new accuracy fueled a golden age of clockmaking. In England, France, and Germany, workshops buzzed with activity. Masters like Thomas Tompion and George Graham in London crafted timepieces that were not just instruments, but works of art. They were housed in exquisite wooden cases, their brass and steel movements polished to a mirror finish. Owning a clock became a symbol of wealth, status, and a modern, rational worldview. But the clockmaker's dream wasn't just about making beautiful objects for the rich. It was about solving practical problems. Sailors, for instance, were desperate for an accurate way to tell time at sea. Without it, they couldn't determine their longitude, their east-west position. Thousands of lives and fortunes were lost to shipwrecks. In response, the British government offered a massive prize for a solution. The challenge was immense. A pendulum clock is useless on a rocking ship. The clockmaker's dream needed to evolve again. It fell to a humble, self-taught carpenter and clockmaker from Yorkshire, John Harrison, to achieve the impossible. Over decades of obsessive work, he created a series of timekeepers, his famous sea that could withstand the motion of a ship and the changes in temperature and humidity. His final version, the H4, was essentially a large, hyper-accurate pocket watch. On its trial voyage in 1761, it lost only lima seconds over 81 days at sea. Harrison had solved the longitude problem and made the world's oceans safe for navigation. As the clock conquered the sea, it also began to conquer the pocket. The next frontier was How do you take the intricate mechanism of a pendulum clock and make it small enough to carry? The solution was the mainspring, a tightly coiled ribbon of steel that stored energy, and the balanced wheel, a tiny weighted wheel that oscillated back and forth, acting like a miniature pendulum digitalis. This innovation, born in the 15th century, was perfected over the next 200 years. By the 18th century, the pocket watch was the ultimate personal accessory, a fusion of science and fashion. They were crafted from gold and silver, adorned with enamel and jewels. Flipping open a pocket watch to check the time was a gesture of elegance and sophistication. The Industrial Revolution harnessed the clockmaker's dream and put it to work. Factories on schedules. Trains, for the first time, needed to run on a standardized timetable to avoid collisions. In 1883, the railroads of North America unilaterally adopted a system of standard time zones, and society, in order to catch the train, had to follow suit. The clock, once a luxury, was now a necessity. Mass production made clocks and watches affordable for everyone. The alarm clock decisions us in the morning, the factory whistle told us when to work, and the mantel clock gathered the family in the evening. The 20th century saw the dream evolve yet again. The mechanical tick-tock, which had reigned for 600 years, was challenged by a new kind of vibration. Scientists discovered that a quartz crystal, when an electric voltage is applied, vibrates at an incredibly precise and stable frequency many thousands of times per second. In the 1920s, the first quartz clock was built. By the 1970s, they had been miniaturized, and the cheap, ultra-accurate quartz watch material the market, nearly wiping out the traditional mechanical watch industry. And today, the clockmaker's dream lives inside our phones, our computers, our GPS satellites. It's synchronized by atomic clocks, a pinnacle of precision that uses the vibration of atoms themselves to measure time. These clocks are so accurate they would lose or gain only a single second over hundreds of millions of years. From the clunky iron monsters in medieval towers to the invisible atomic hum that powers our digital world, the quest for perfect time has never stopped. But even now, in our world of digital displays and atomic precision, there is a renewed fascination, a deep affection for the old ways, for the intricate ballet of gears and springs, for the skill of a human hand assembling hundreds of tiny parts into a living, breathing machine. The mechanical watch is a small miracle on the wrist, a reminder that for centuries the greatest minds and the most skilled hands poured their passion into this one singular dream, to capture time. So the next time you hear that steady tick-tock, take a moment. Listen. It's more than just a sound. It's the echo of a 700-year-old dream. It's the heartbeat of human ingenuity. Thank you for watching.